Hey everyone, this is Josh from before, and I'm here with all the Batman I've got. Today we are ranking all of the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman releases, and I'm putting this video out to celebrate 10,000 subscribers, which is an amazing milestone. We have come such a long way in such a short amount of time. I started this channel during the pandemic to justify buying more toys, and as more of you turned out and participated, it inspired me to put more time and energy into the channel, and now we've just celebrated our 2-year channelversary. 2022 was an amazing year. You all helped me publish my first comic book in a Kickstarter campaign that was so successful that I've now just made the digital version of the comic available for free, along with some other artwork on my Gumroad account. Go check that out and download as much as you want. We will do another Kickstarter next year in 2024. We'll do issue 2 of this. Thank you to everyone who has been along for this journey, watching, commenting, subscribing, hanging out during the live streams. Whether you've been around since the beginning or you're new to the channel, I appreciate you all. And if you are new to the channel, you may want to check out this playlist on my channel homepage that has shelf tours, custom videos, and other non-review content that has a lot more general information about my approach to collecting and displaying and posing and all of that. One final thing is I've got all these figures here displayed on some Dio display pieces from wouldyoukindlystudios.com. We've got a couple tiered brick steps, and this one in the middle is inspired by some of the brutalist architecture that Anton first incorporated into his Gotham City designs for the original Tim Burton Batman. Would You Kindly Studios is a great friend of the channel, and they've got a 15% off promo code for viewers. So definitely check out their site. They've got a wide variety of displays, many of them designed to fit into the ubiquitous IKEA Detolf shelves that many of us collectors use. Now let's get this ranking started. Now, of course, these are my choices, and if you know much about me, you know I tend to rank things more just based on my personal preference, and I don't really believe in objective ranking. Anyone trying to sell you on a definitive objective ranking is probably just overvaluing their own personal preferences. So these will be my picks, and I'll tell you right away, number 1 kind of even has a big asterisk next to it. I'll explain once we get there, but let's do this thing. Let's dive in. Now, my bottom 3 on the list, they're so low on the list that I don't even have them anymore. They are Omega Batman, Armored Batman, and Affleck Snyder Cut Batman. We'll use archival footage to take a look at these. None of them bad figures. Unfortunately, we just have to have some at the bottom of the list. Omega Batman, a very fun figure, but just as far as the design goes, doesn't really scream Batman to me. Armored Batman is fun in theory, but the limited paint apps kind of keeps it from feeling like a complete thought. And the Affleck Batman, really, really excellent sculpt, but not a lot there in terms of articulation. It leaves it feeling kind of rigid. Those are the bottom 3. Like I said, none of those are bad figures. Unfortunately, some just have to be at the bottom. Now let's get on to the ones that I actually do have here in hand. Number 36 is going to be Red Death. My least favorite of the Dark Knight figures. I just think this guy is very unpleasant in hand. All these stiff fins kind of poking up in every direction. When you pose him, it just feels like you're kind of like poking yourself, and it's just not really satisfying. He's also not nearly as posable as you would like a speedster to be. And I don't particularly love many of the running poses that this guy is capable of doing. Sorry, Red Death, you're just not for me. 35 is going to be the first Batman Who Laughs, all the way back from Wave 1, and like everything else on this list, not really a bad figure. It does have some holdovers from that early wave, the way they did these hips here that just kind of go flush with the pelvis. It doesn't have the overlapping pelvis piece. Pretty solid, but we've come a long way since this guy. 34 is the Derp Meister Arkham Asylum Batman. Not bad by any stretch, but he's pushed lower on the list by the fact that he was improved upon with the new Arkham City Batman, and I mean, they all came out looking like this in the eye department, and yeah, I think we can do better than that, right? 33 is going to be Zurin R. Another great sculpt. This figure had a lot of potential, but the limited paint apps really hurt it. I know the point of this costume is to be kind of garish and ugly, but this is in some ways accidentally garish and ugly. There's just no definition on these bright areas, and there's so many great details that are done a big disservice by not having paint on them. Really fun accessories and a great head sculpt. Great sculpt overall. Just doesn't feel like a complete thought. 32 is Hush. This is from the Batman vs. Hush 2-pack. I believe they have corrected these big issues with the elbow since, but I am stuck with this one that's got these really, got this really gnarly elbow situation. But beyond that, I just don't think this is quite a winner. This is a retooled version of 3 Jokers, which I vastly preferred. I think the choice of gray is just a bit too light, and it leaves the whole thing feeling a little cheap looking. They are going to be putting out some repaint, retooled versions of this, so maybe some of those future ones will solve some of the problems that I've got. This one just doesn't have what it takes to get very high up on my list. 31 is going to disappoint some people. It is Merciless, the very first Build-A-Fig. It's a really fun figure. It's got a lot of really cool features, but I don't like the metallic blue. I don't like the way it was implemented. It just feels a little too plasticky, a little too toy-like, and that's unfortunate because it's a really cool sculpt and it's got a ton of presence, but just doesn't quite have what it takes to be a must-display figure. So coming in at number 30, about a quarter of the way through the list now, it is Hellbat. You can see I've got the gold one here. I passed on the original black one that was all the way back from wave 1. I do think the gold one is the nicer looking version, and it's a really great figure. It's big, chunky, feels like a brick in your hand. Very satisfying to pose, but from a sort of character design point of view, it's not exactly something that I just have to have on the shelf. I hate to have it so low, but such is the nature of ranking. Number 29 is Endless Winter, which I really love from just a hilarious Hall of Armor entry, the cold weather bat suit. I'm just never going to spend a ton of time playing with him. You know, he's got this great big bathrobe that does hinder a lot of the movement, thick snow pants. So the posing range is really why this guy's so low on the list. But this dude's hilarious. I love silly stuff like this. Number 28 is Batman Beyond. And this is really an excellent looking figure. That is exactly the Batman Beyond look, sleek and stylized. But me personally, I'm coming to McFarlane for detailed sculpts, you know, those realistic textures, the cool deech. And this guy is just a sleek, streamlined looking figure. So while he is exactly what he should be, he just doesn't blow me away like some of the other fantastic sculpted Batmen do. Number 27 is going to be The Drowned. Now this one is an excellent sculpt. Tons of different textures on here. The algae of her skirt and the fabric and leather. One of the most unique looking Batman on this list. She gives a Batwoman, and the hair is one of my favorite things about her that looks like it's underwater. Really fun figure. All the Dark Knights, that whole team is excellent looking. In fact, I've got another Dark Knight at number 26. It's Dawnbreaker. Another very cool, unique looking, obviously this is a Lantern Batman from the Dark Multiverse. Super cool approach to the way these tubes work, connected to his head, and the monochromatic look with these different values of green and the matte green and the shiny. It looks sharp. It looks really sharp. And a unique body shape for these bat figures. This is a much more emaciated, scrawny body buck. Dawnbreaker, he's cool. Number 25 is going to be Flashpoint. I know many will be disappointed that he is so low on the list. He is a very strong looking figure and a bit of an endangered species considering he came with guns. But for me, it's the articulation is really lacking. It leaves this guy feeling very rigid. And I don't find myself like picking him up very often and experimenting with different poses because he just favors this kind of power stance. And, you know, there's some fatal flaws, you know, the big cuts here. This was back when they had just the straight up ball joints and not very flattering tooling there. Number 24 is going to be another excellent Hall of Armor figure. It's Hazbat. To me, this just recalls all of those hilarious old Kenner variants. You know, you had Underwater Batman, Techno Rave Batman, Helicopter Batman. And I love this dude. And the gold label version, the superior version that lights up. I need to replace my batteries. And he had some more paint apps on him. This is a must-have if you want to have a diverse Hall of Armor with a bunch of different bat suits. Number 23 will be Nightfall Hazbat. I know this is one that many people absolutely love, and I think it's a very good figure. I don't think it's great. The sculpt is really excellent, but you know, the shade of blue is just not quite right. I wish there was a little bit more paint on some of the details, like his claws. And he's got some nice movement, but not quite as articulated as I would like him to be. So again, another one that I don't find myself picking up very often and playing with, hence the lower ranking. I know that'll disappoint many, but that's what I got. Number 22 is Arkham Knight. This is another one where they absolutely nailed the look. He just suffers from being kind of rigid, and I don't find myself putting him in very many different poses. But man, wonderful looking cape. I actually do like how they approach the ab movement, the torso movement here. If only he had also had that abdomen cut, then this guy would be way higher on the list. As far as the looks go, they nailed it, but I just don't play with this guy a ton. 21, another Dark Knight. Here's Murder Machine, one of the higher ranked Dark Knights because of this wonderful sculpt that has really cool matte Tron look. I really like the unique techno tentacle hand here because it does keep him from being just another humanoid shaped Batman. It's one extra detail that separates him from the pack and gives him a unique gimmick for the shelf. Really slick. Number 20 is Page Punchers. One of the best sculpts on this list, no question. I mean, that cape alone is something to behold. But it's another one that just suffers from being just a little bit too rigid, and I don't feel like there's a ton that I can do with him, other than just put him in a cool power stance. When you do that, he looks amazing. He looks damn near like a statue. But he feels a little bit like a statue too, you know? But he is right about at the halfway mark in our list. Page Punchers. Number 19 will be the Todd designed Batman. This was one that we all kind of laughed at when we first saw photos of it. But then in hand, a lot of folks were like, "Ooh, this is actually really sharp." And that is an experience that is very typical of the DC Multiverse line. We see some early photos of the figures and they maybe raise some eyebrows, but then in person, we get something pretty cool. I like this dude. I got both of them so I could get all the different accessories, mix and match, and make my own best version of it. Number 18 is going to be the Sky Tyrant Batman Who Laughs. I think this is overall a huge improvement from the first one. I don't love these Hawkman straps. You know, they keep him from being exactly the character design that you think of. But, man, extra details on his tattered tunic here. You gotta love finding that bat-shaped little tear. Really expressive hands and face. I've got this guy. He is my driver of the Batmobeast. And he lives in there because he looks like he is partying. Number 17 is going to be Darkfather. Still one of my favorite Build-A-Figs to date. I think it's a really understated sculpt that is just an absolute masterclass in texture work. This amazing cape and all these other details, his craggy dark side skin and the fabric of his bat suit here. Whew. Man, I still pick this thing up and just want to pour over it all day. The expression on the face just, oh man. Really love this dude. And just the big oversized proportions. There's nothing else quite like it on the shelf. Let's get a little closer here as we near 2/3 of the way through this list. Number 16 is going to be 3 Jokers Batman. I mean, I want to put this guy even higher, just due to my personal preference for these Keaton-esque details. The look is just right for me, but it's another one that comes down to having not a huge fun factor as far as the different poses I can put this guy in. He favors that big power stance, that A pose, and I just don't pick him up as often as I'd like to. Number 15 is going to be the first Hazbat, the White Knight Hazbat. And, you know, this White Knight wave, it was very early in the Multiverse line, but in many ways, they still haven't quite outdone it. It's a really cool art style, really fun figures. This is one of those that just looks like he's a statue, but then you start moving around, and you're like, wow, they really hid a lot of these articulation points really perfectly. And there's actually quite a bit he can do. Really love those expressive hands. What can I say? I prefer this one to the Nightfall Azrael. It's just a bit more fun to pose for me. Number 14 is Battinson. This one surprised me because I normally don't care for the live action figures. I don't think they quite have the look that I really am picking up these characters for. I just tend to prefer the more comic styled sculpts. But this one feels like it lives in a really cool in-between place, in between the realistic live action and slightly stylized design that I just really like. And it's a very, very fun figure in hand. Great pocket fig. Just a solid all-around bat. Number 13 is Dark Knight Returns. I think they nailed these sculpts. I do think the portraits from this wave were backhanded compliments to Frank Miller's art. I do think they nailed it, and I do think Frank Miller's art is frequently grotesque. And despite his big, chunky brick shithouse proportions, is a very fun figure to play with. So they nailed it. And Dark Knight Returns isn't even necessarily one of my favorite source materials, but they could keep it coming with this kind of stuff all day. Number 12 is going to be the Capullo version. And it's a testament to just how great this figure is that I have him so high, because I really hate this belt and I hate this bat insignia here. All the other details are great. All the textures just work really well. There's some fun battle damage in there. The way the cape is an all-timer. It's a really impressive cape that makes this figure super dynamic. This guy would really be even higher on the list if not for these kind of design elements that I just don't care for. And the last one before the top 10 is number 11, Arkham City Batman. This is the best of the video game bats, in my opinion. They fixed the derpy eyes, but kept the very fun long ears here. They made the gauntlets a little bit more interesting to look at, and this bat emblem here is a much more flattering shape. Maybe one of the best head sculpts of all these Batman. All right, we're down to the top 10. This is a great looking group. And in the number 10 spot, it's going to be Infected Batman. The lanky proportions of this guy just make him extra fun to play with. I find myself picking him up and posing him maybe more than any other figure on this list. And just sculpt work like you wouldn't believe. The texture on his bat suit here, and then the folds all like it's kind of ill-fitting here. Just killer. Love this dude. Amazing hands. Just excellent work. Number 9 is one of the first endangered species from the Multiverse line. It is Grim Knight, an outlaw now thanks to all these guns that he's packing. Really just an incredible sculpt and just a sense of depth with the bright bat insignia there underneath these straps, these bandoliers. Really amazing. Really, the one big cosmetic gripe I have is just the way the cutouts there are at the ankles. That's the one thing. Other than that, just dynamite. Number 8 is another one that is a blast to play with. It's Blackest Night, this zombie Batman. Just so expressive face and hands, and the posability. It just feels like every pose you put him in, it just kind of makes sense with the way his hands and expression work. And of course, just the textures and details. These even like mossy, rotting cape. Whew, this guy's amazing. Really wish every figure from this line could move like this guy does. Number 7 is Year 2. I'm just a sucker for the blue and gray. The classic black and yellow bat emblem. I prefer this over the Three Jokers one, and it's mostly just coming down to personal preference. And I was delighted actually by this fabric cape. I don't normally dig the soft goods, but I think this worked really well and hangs in a really nice way. And then of course the big plastic sculpted cape as well makes for another posing option. Really, this guy would have been higher on this list if not for the fact that we all went through the pain of arms popping off. This guy was kind of hard to get one that worked right. But once you do, he just pops. And number 6 is the highest ranked Dark Knight on the list. It's Devastator. If you got this guy nearly 3 years ago, you know how special he is. Unbelievable that this guy came in a $20 package. Incredible sculpt, incredible articulation, really, really enjoyable to pose. I mean, articulated jaw even. I mean, I wish we could see more of that now. The spikes, the shorts, all of it. It's just super cool. It's super fun to play with. I mean, there's some $40 mega figs that have come out since this guy that aren't as fun as Devastator here. Number 6. All right, here's our top 5. Pressure's on. You got any predictions? Who's it going to be? Let's find out. Number 5 is Rebirth Batman. This is the most fun normal Batman in the entire Multiverse line. I really wish every figure was as fun to play with as this. It would be higher on my list, but I personally just don't care for the belt and the bat emblem here. But if you are looking for a regular Batman and a pocket fig at that, this is the one to go for in the DC Multiverse line. Number 4 is White Knight Batman. Another one from very, very early in the DC Multiverse line. And one that if you zoom in, any of the design choices, they're kind of weird. You know, he's got the Dolls Kill stripper boots, the fins that come from, I'm not quite sure where, you know, this unusual kind of Dracula collar. Overall, it's just a very, very striking figure. They totally nailed the art style, Sean Murphy's art style. Perfect accessories, the animated series style grapnel launcher, the coiled bat rope that attaches to his belt. I really, really hope they go back to the White Knight series and give us some more figures from that story, because the White Knight wave still stands among the very best of the DC Multiverse line. Number 3, Last Night on Earth Batman. One of the most unique Batman in the Multiverse line. So many really, really cool, creative design choices in here. Of course, this is Sir Bruce Wayne in a mental asylum, but he's cobbled together a bat suit. The flaps on this head restraint are his ears. His cape is the straps of his straitjacket. And the sculpt is just excellent with this burlappy texture that's got all of these tears and snags in it, overlapping straps. I love the approach that they took with the torso articulation. Absolutely love this guy. He's got a permanent spot on my Batmo Beast party wagon. Really great figure, all the way down to the Arkham Asylum stamp on the bottom of his shoes. Now, number 2 is going to be Dark Detective. This was my highest ranked individual figure on my recent Best of 2022 list. This is another one where if you kind of zoom in on any one of the choices in this character design, you're like, what? He's got this breastless trench coat, a weird football helmet with the ears exposed. He's got this armor. I'm not sure what is it ceramic plates? Is it what? He's wearing regular pants. But when you pull out, you look at the whole thing, it looks damn near like a statue. Like, you wouldn't even know that there was articulation here at the torso, and there is, and it's very satisfying to move around the way those plates shift on top of each other when you move the torso. Just a really, really striking look. Just enough love in the paint department to really bring it to life. And a surprisingly high fun factor. This guy moves a lot more than you would think he would, and it makes for some really, really great dynamic poses. So, Dark Detective, he's a number 2. Now, if you'll remember at the beginning of the video, I said that my number 1 choice had an asterisk by it. Here's what it is. My top ranked McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman is Death Metal Batman and the Bat Cycle. Now you're going to say, what's the deal? Some of these other Batmen have their own dedicated Bat Cycles, and you didn't rank them with those. Why does this one get a Bat Cycle tethered to it? Well, those other figures, their Bat Cycles didn't move them up any higher in the ranking. But in this case, the Death Metal Batman plus the Bat Cycle equals one of the best looking pieces from the entire DC Multiverse line. As a display piece with this amount of presence at this price point, this is really, really hard to beat. This is something that would impress even the normies in your life. If you're a toy collector, then you know that you talk to a non-toy person about toys, they shut down right away. But this is something, if you put this on your desk at work, if you put this on a shelf in your house, then everyone that walks by is going to be like, holy shit, what is that? This thing is a real conversation starter. You know what I mean? You put this on your desk at work or on a shelf at your house, it's not really going to move the needle. Anybody that walks by isn't going to perk up. You put that on your desk at work, everyone that walks by is going to be like, oh, whoa. When you said you like toys, I thought you meant you were on that Fisher-Price shit. This is cool as hell. Grim Reaper Batman on a skeletal motorcycle from heck. This thing really exemplifies everything that rocks about McFarlane's DC Multiverse line. It looks like a statue, and then of course you take this Batman off and you have an amazing, detailed, fully articulated figure. And that is just about as good as it gets for me as far as the hobby of collecting toys in general goes. You want people to take your hobby seriously, this is the kind of stuff you need to be rocking in your displays. Cool factor, unmatched, huge presence on the shelf. That's why Death Metal Batman and the Bat Cycle are at the top of this list. Thank you for joining me on this journey. 2 years, 10,000 subscribers, more than 400 videos, and nearly 2 million views. We are just getting started on this channel. Year 3, 2023. It's going to be a big one. Don't forget, you can download the digital version of my comic and some of my other artwork for free on Gumroad. And if you are new to this channel, check out the playlist on my channel homepage, shelf tours, custom videos, etc., for some evergreen non-review videos. Of course, I'm sure you will all let me know what I missed and what you didn't like. By all means, let's hear your favorites, and I will talk to you all very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.